So welcome back, our viewers. We stopped at a point where we wanted to see how can we quickly look at means of evaluating, how can we quickly evaluate our groups in a way of coming up with the methods of improving or a way of improving our group's performance. And so we are going to look at strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and with reference to our group, Aguchmula Self-Help Group. And this is very important for people to do for their groups because at any given time, if you really want to grow, you must always ask yourself, where are we standing? And where do we want to go? And what do we lack? And so it is important that this evaluation be done by all members. Actually, it is a very simple model where you just ask members to list the strengths that they are seeing available for their group. And after that, you also ask them to make a list of weaknesses that their group is experiencing. And they also look at opportunities and threats that their groups could be having. So we conducted such an exercise with our group, Aguchmula Self-Help Group, and of course with the objective of assessing the group's current position and identifying strategies that can enhance community development, economic empowerment, and sustainability. And something that Aguchmula Self-Help Group members were agreeing on, that part of our strength is that currently we have a very strong unity and teamwork among members. And this is very important. And whenever people start a group that is fairly young, this will be one of their point of strength, because at that point, everybody is still motivated. And so it is usually very important to ensure that that is maintained and members keep on getting a motivation to remain strong. Then there's good community reputation and trust. So when you are operating in a community, your group should not just be limited to members, even though it is a self-help group, as we said. But whichever activity that is being done in the community should have that community in mind. For example, conservation activities. These are things that are helpful also to community members. And so all the projects that are being done in the community must be those that are adding value. And that is also what will give you good standing with any community you are participating or you are working in. And most important, as we saw last time, is transparent leadership. Whatever is happening, nothing should be done aside that members are not aware. Members should be involved in everything. Decision making should be done by members themselves. And so that way, the leadership remains transparent, and when they are transparent, that is when members also give them more mandate to transact business on their behalf. And of course, for Aguchmula, it's a group that had already started, and so they have initiated projects, and so they had experience doing certain projects. This is important for groups to start doing something, because when you start doing something, that also offers learning opportunities. And of course, diverse membership skills. When members have got various skills, allow members to express and use their expertise for the growth of the group. And of course, strong social networks that the group should have. We talked about initiating partnership with other groups in the community so that you are all putting efforts that can provide meaningful output. Likewise, if you look at the weakness, it's very important for people to know their weakness so that they can work on it. One of the common weaknesses is usually the limited financial resources. This is something that is universal, but of course there are avenues of making sure that these finances are accessed. So the thing is for the group to find out how can we grow our financial capital? How can we get financial support? For example, in Aguchmula, the group members realized this weakness on their end and decided to join a SACCO, which promised that when they save with a SACCO for a given period of time, say 6 months, they will be able to borrow a loan from that SACCO, which they can use then as a capital, a financial capital, to grow their own resources. And also, the group members realized that they have weak business management system. And so this indicates through areas that group members should be trained in. And this is very important because the group undertook a project of sunflower farming, processed the sunflower seed into oil, and acquired 400 liters of sunflower oil. But it was very difficult to sell this sunflower oil so that people can be liquid again in group. So why was it difficult? Probably because most group members lacked marketing skills. So these are some of the weaknesses that when people come together, then you identify the weaknesses and initiate the right actions like trainings. So there was also inconsistent participation for Aguch Mula self-help group members. And this has been observed even in the manner in which people attend meetings, decision making. Some people are okay when others make decisions without their input. But that is an aspect that should not be encouraged in a group. And so leaders should ensure that they use all the approaches that can ensure that all members are involved in decision making and are always motivated to participate. And of course, there is over-reliance on members' contribution. When the group solely rely on members' contribution and there's no any other source of income, then it is possible that some people will give up because of that fatigue from contribution. And of course, limited training. So there are always opportunities also in the market that people can take advantage of, especially when in groups. For example, access to government or donor support. Sometimes there are projects that government or some donors want to undertake, but they cannot undertake them themselves. They need people to work with. And so this is where groups come in handy, because groups can have impact on the ground. And when they partner with the government or with such donors, then it gives the group an opportunity to grow. And at the moment also there are rising demand for local products. People have realized that a lot of things that they are using are usually imported, and therefore there is no circulation of cash within their community. And so there are movements right now which support locally produced products and services. And so the group can take advantage of that and identify a niche. What can they do that can also help produce local products that is being supported? And of course, the government is coming up with the policies, like the social department right now in Kenya is making so many adjustments and coming up with things that can be useful to people who come together as groups, and more so targeting people living with disability. So there are also training and capacity programs that are usually offered by the government and also other development partners. But I usually insist that training nowadays is more than enough. Because if you go to YouTube, for example, you'll almost learn anything that you want to learn. So there's no excuse that people should say that, okay, I don't have this skill, I don't have that skill. Otherwise, there are also threats that can affect groups. The most common one today is climate change. For example, Aguch Mula self-help group also engages in crop farming. And crop farming today, we see how it is impacted with variability of weather. And so it is important that when getting into certain activities or projects, then the group understand what are some of the threats that they are going to face. And also there is the idea of internal leadership disputes and youth migration. So if a group consists, majority of group members are the young people who are still very versatile, they can look for employment and other opportunities at different parts of the country, then it is possible that some groups can fail because they'll then lose members who are moving out, migrating, and so that can affect the group adversely. Those are some of the threats that people coming together should be able to be aware of. And so with that, for Aguch Mula, having known the strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities that are available, then there were 4 goal areas that we zero in. For example, how can we sustain the group? How can we sustain the group? So we realized that we can use the strategy of community or group trust to attract partners, because as you know, resources from members' contribution alone may not be sufficient. And so there's a need for attracting partners. And this one will require, for example, people who are skilled in proposal development, identifying areas for partnership, and actually going out for such. And more important is the area of capacity building. All people join groups so that they can benefit in one way or the other. People should not remain the same when they join the groups. So it is important to look at how can we improve member skills? How can we also improve management and leadership for the group so that this group can continue? And so that is why it is important to organize workshops on various areas, including record keeping and even governance. And that also talks about income growth for us to ensure that members are experiencing income growth and also the group is growing. Then we look at the strategy of leveraging on market opportunities.